In our next guest, there were some headlines out. Trump said he will be announcing tariffs on autos, aluminum, and pharmaceuticals in the very near future. So maybe not the targeted ones that everybody wants. So more headlines doesn't seem to be negatively affecting equity markets, just below their session highs. So we'll continue to watch that story develop as Commerce Secretary Lutnick's always also making some comments. All right, now it's time for cash tags. For that, let's bring in our next guest. That's going to be Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Thank you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. Affirm, it's been getting hammered so far this month on the news that they lost a deal with Walmart. And I'm interested to see what kind of data that you guys have, because you guys previously, as the stock was going higher, you guys were right with your data that, they're growing. They continue to grow, take market share. Everything was pretty positive. Are you still seeing that kind of data, even with the Walmart partnership breakup?
Yeah, we are on the consumer side, especially. So, we don't have a whole lot of insight into why Walmart made the decision that it did. And, there's always the risk that Walmart's a canary in the coal mine, and that, all of Affirm's partners are thinking the same way or could be thinking the same way. There's definitely more competition in this space. I think Affirm was a really strong early leader. So we don't really know what's happening on, the partnership side. But what we can say is that on the consumer side, Affirm is best in class by quite a bit. And we still see very healthy growth metrics in terms of, the number of web visits. If we look at that on a year-over-year basis, Affirm solidly in the lead in terms of growth versus peers. In terms of, app usage, same thing. Monthly active users up 17% year-over-year. All of our sentiment data is very positive for Affirm. People feel like the company is fair, provides clear payment structures, very good on communication. And so consumers love Affirm, and they like it a lot more than its competitors. So right now we're just sitting here watching and thinking, okay, Walmart may have gotten a deal they can't refuse from Klarna as they kind of try to hype up the pipeline going into their own IPO. Who knows how much they had to give away in order to get that deal. And so it could be it's very possible that Affirm is still in the driver's seat, that there is more competition coming. But when we look at it from the consumer perspective and who the consumer prefers to use, and I think ultimately that's going to be who wins, that's who these companies will have to go with, it is clearly Affirm. And we think that as of right now, that this pullback in Affirm share price is probably at least a trading opportunity, if not a longer-term investment opportunity.
So, Andy, I agree with you when it comes to the consumer demand. Do you think that there's any type of fundamental risk for Affirm as far as the credit profile and the potential of an economic slowdown, or consumers that might be directly the cohort that they kind of cater to, maybe falling back when it comes to paying down these installment loans? Is there any perceived risk that you have, or anything in the data that you're seeing that could allude to any type of weakness like that?
Yeah, I think that there's always macro risk, and there's always credit risk, especially when you're talking about, some of these purchases aren't the most, secure type of loans that you can make. You're loaning someone $200 over the course of a few months. That's a very different risk profile than a home or an auto. But Affirm has actually built out what I would consider industry-leading credit worthiness type of scoring. They don't rely on traditional credit scores. They have their own data sources and their own user metrics and behavior metrics that help them identify when a loan is likely to be paid back, or when a user might be getting ahead of themselves. And so we think that if Affirm was going to see significant problems in that kind of payback environment, that we probably would have already started seeing that, and we're really not. So I think Affirm has done a phenomenal job of building out its credit worthiness tools on these users. And again, I see them as the leader in the space. I think it's more likely to affect competitors than it is Affirm. you never know. It's kind of like that Warren Buffett quote. I think it's something like, "You don't know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out." That's clearly a possibility and a high risk factor for Affirm because, again, these aren't extremely secure loans. But so far, they have proven to be the best in the business at assessing that consumer risk and delivering a loan product that consumers really like and are able to pay back. So far, so good for Affirm.
So it's just traded $82.50 a few weeks ago before this news came out. There's 3-year highs for the stock. It's pulled back 18% so far this month. With that data, Andy, if we had earnings coming up, they don't have them for a few weeks, would you guys be buyers here according to what you've seen?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, you kind of have to take the Walmart news with a grain of salt. This is a company that has, they're with Apple Pay, they're with Amazon, they're with Shopify, they're rolling out further internationally. Again, a name that consumers love. I think it's very possible that Klarna just had to get out there and do a really, really aggressive deal with a blue chip prior to their own IPO roadshow, and probably had to give away the farm to get it. And so that may end up actually benefiting Affirm in the long term because one of their chief competitors is having to get so aggressive to get a single deal that is less than 5% of Affirm's total book.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key metrics that Affirm came out with after this report, that 5% of the gross merchandise volume and only 2% of its company's adjusted operating income also was part of that Walmart deal. So that's good to highlight. All right, great stuff. As always, Andy, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, breaking down Affirm. Kevin, you look at this, you look at their data, the